17-year-old Sean Hartman lived in the small community of Beaton in Simcoe County, Ontario. Sean's father, Dan, describes him as a pure, beautiful boy who enjoyed playing video games, watching movies, and most of all, loved hockey. His love of the game started at the age of 5 when he first put on the number 6 jersey for the Beaton Stingers, his hometown team. His coaches and friends would later describe Sean as a solid defenseman who always supported his goalie and teammates. In the 2021 season, the Beaton Athletic Association announced that all members 12 years of age and older would require the COVID-19 vaccine in order to play hockey. This was concerning news for both Sean and his father. Dan questioned the safety and efficacy of the experimental drug, and for Sean, it would mean missing his friends and the game that meant everything to him. On August 25, 2021, without his father's knowledge, Sean received a single dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Within 4 days, Sean was taken to the Stevenson Memorial Hospital with unusual symptoms: a pain in his shoulder, brown circles around his eyes, and nausea, but was sent home with only pain medication. 1 month later, after playing hockey the night before, Sean was found dead on the floor of his bedroom. We sat down with Dan Hartman to learn more about his son's tragic death.
My son Sean played hockey his whole life. It was his love and passion. It was all he ever thought about. And to continue to play hockey, he was forced to take a vaccine. You could not play hockey without it. On August 25th of 2021, Sean went and got his first Pfizer vaccine. On August 29th, he had to be taken to emergency. He had brown circles around his eyes and a rash and vomiting and an extremely sore shoulder opposite to his injection shoulder. The doctor there failed to do any blood work whatsoever. He did not do a D-dimer test. He did not do a troponin test to look for blood clots. He just sent him home with a pain reliever for his sore shoulder. On September 26th, he went to play hockey. It was his first time back at hockey in a long time. Everything seemed fine. He came home. Everything was good. He went to bed. And on the morning of September 27th, my son was found dead on the floor beside his bed. They did an autopsy. I had to wait 3 long months to get results for that. The autopsy came back with the cause of death unascertained. They cannot tell me how he died. They don't know how he died. I thought that was very strange because only 2% of deaths have the autopsy come back with the result unascertained. I knew my son was healthy. I knew there was nothing wrong with him. So I started to fight for my son. I created a Twitter page called Answers for Sean. And ever since he died, that's what I've been doing. Day in and day out. From the time I get home from work, I'm on the internet fighting for Sean, raising awareness, doing everything I can to bring justice for my boy.
Can you tell me what life was like before Sean got the vaccine?
He was such a happy boy, and we always made the most of our time together. We always did something special every time we were together. I took him to his first go-karts, his first drive-in movie, his first mini golf. He just liked to have fun. He loved movies. We watched so many movies together. That was a tradition, actually. Every weekend we would watch a movie together. I talked him into watching Forrest Gump with me. He didn't want to watch it, but he ended up watching it with me. I promised him it was a good movie, and at the end he said, "I'm so glad I watched that with you." He was just a humble, shy boy who kept to himself mostly, had a few close friends, but he was very family-oriented. He loved people. He loved animals very much, and just a good angel of a boy. He never did anything wrong in his life. He didn't have a drop of alcohol. He never smoked a cigarette. He was perfectly healthy and just an average Canadian kid who loved hockey. And he just wanted to keep playing hockey.
Sean decided to get the Pfizer vaccine. Can you tell us why he decided to get the vaccine?
It was the only way he could keep playing hockey. Sean's biggest fear in life was needles. He was terrified of them. And I know he wouldn't have got it if he didn't have to, but it was the only way he could keep playing hockey, which he played his whole life. And why should he have been afraid? I mean, everyone said it was safe and effective. That's what he was told. That's what was driven into his head from mainstream media, from the government. So I guess he thought people around him were okay, so I'm going to go do it. I begged Sean not to take it. He was in my car one day, and we were driving, and I told him, please don't take it, because this is going to blow over, and you'll get to play hockey again. And I thought I got through to him, but I didn't. I didn't even know that Sean took it until the day he died. The coroner had to tell me. And I just wish he would have listened to me, because 2 months after he died, they dropped the mandate for hockey. And I truly believe it was because of Sean that they did that. They didn't want heat coming on them for what had happened. But my son was perfectly healthy. And there was nothing wrong with him. He had no underlying conditions. And they killed my son. As far as I'm concerned, my son was murdered. They took him from me. He was the most special boy in the world. A complete angel.
Could you tell us what the Canadian pathologist found during the original autopsy and what was discovered by American pathologist Dr. Cole?
Yes, the first autopsy done in Toronto, they couldn't find a cause of death. I didn't believe that. I got introduced to Dr. Ryan Cole from America through Tamara from Rebel News. She hooked us up, and he said he would be willing to help me for no cost. He said all he would need is the tissue samples. So he reached out to Toronto, and at first they said no. They wouldn't give them to him. I found that very strange. And then he did an interview about it. He didn't mention Sean's name, but he said he asked for tissue samples, and he was being refused. Shortly after that, they sent the tissue samples to him. He did a staining process where you stain the slides to find spike protein in the body where it shouldn't be. And a tremendous amount was found in Sean's adrenal glands. It shouldn't have been there. We were all told it stays in your shoulder and it doesn't travel through your body. We now know that's a lie. And it does. The adrenal glands control your blood pressure. So likely what happened is Sean's blood pressure crashed, and he was getting up out of his bed because he knew something was wrong. And he collapsed and died. Dr. Cole has proven that it was the vaccine that killed Sean. We also have 2 other medical experts who are on our team who have also proven it. And we have Dr. Peter McCullough, the rock star of all of this. He's coming from America to Canada to be my expert witness at our trial. He's very valuable. He has new evidence as well that I can't speak of right now, but we have a very solid case, and I have a very solid law team. Omar Sheikh is my lawyer, and Angela Wood also is my lawyer. Omar Sheikh represented Sheila Lewis, the woman who was forced to get a vaccine or she wouldn't be given a transplant. She ended up dying. But he was my lawyer. He was her lawyer, and now he's my lawyer. I was down to my last 2 months before I could file anything. And he reached out to me and said, call me. And now we have the ball rolling. We've filed 2 lawsuits against Pfizer and Health Canada. And it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be David versus Goliath because the government has more lawyers than we do. They have more money than we do. But we're fighting.
And when is the court case? What is the date?
The date hasn't been set yet. We have served them. We've served BioNTech in Germany. We've served Pfizer. We've served the Canadian government. And we're just waiting for their responses.
Okay. And then do you want to talk about the government's response for the court case?
Oh yeah, the government's offer to me. The Canadian government, after we served them, answered us with an offer. My lawyer called me and said, "Dan, we have an offer." And I said, "Okay, what is it, $8?" And he said, "Pretty much." He said, "Their offer is if you're willing to drop the lawsuit, they won't come after you for any court costs." He said, "So I need your permission to tell them to go to hell." And I said, "You have my permission." That's not an offer. That's an insult to my son's memory. That's an insult to me personally. They're trying to scare me. They're trying to make me go away by saying, "We're going to charge you." And I asked my lawyer, I said, "How much is court costs?" And he said, "Thousands." And I said, "Well, I don't have any money." He said, "Don't worry. We're going to do this. And we're going forward. We're not accepting their offer." That was ridiculous and a total insult.
Dan, have you applied to the Vaccine Injury Support Program?
Yes, I did. I applied very soon after Sean died, and they denied me. They came back with their denial fairly quickly. But back then, I didn't have any evidence. I was just applying. They said to appeal, you must have new evidence. So when Dr. Cole gave me the report, I immediately appealed. That was May 8th of last year, and they still haven't responded. They've ignored my emails. They said they were having trouble finding a pathologist to look at my report, which seems really weird. So I'm in the appeal process, and we're waiting to find out what will happen.
I know this is a difficult question for you, but what is your life like now?
It's an absolute nightmare. Every day is so much pain from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, it's like a punch in the face. Like, here's the pain, here we go. And I'm a truck driver. I've been a truck driver for 19 years. And I have to pull my truck over a lot of times to cry because I don't want to endanger anyone else because it's so bad. I cry multiple times a day. He was my only boy. And I miss him so much. And it's very hard to live without him. He was everything to me. He was the reason I got up in the morning and went to work. I used to love my job as a trucker. And now it's just a way to pass time, to get me through the day. Which is sad. It's a nightmare. I cannot accept that he's gone. It still bothers me so much. I'm not even beginning to accept it. Because he was healthy and there was nothing wrong with him. And my son should be here with me.
Dan, would you like to say a message to other parents who are watching this video?
Please do your research. Don't just jab an untested poison into your children. I mean, it didn't even have time to go through proper testing. Vaccines take 5 to 7 years. They just rushed it out the door. And I am personally friends with parents of 6 other children who have all died from this. We're friends now, not by choice, but every one of them was a young child, and every one of them was Pfizer. My advice is don't do it. Everyone had a 99% chance of survival. I had COVID myself twice. It's nowhere near as bad as they made it out to be. I'm unvaccinated. I survived. So it must be a miracle, I guess. My advice is don't do it. I mean, you have the choice. You're the parents. It's your children. But it can happen, and it is happening. Millions around the world have been injured and died, and the government won't even speak about it. They act like it's not happening, and it needs to be addressed. And think twice before you shove something into your child that they don't even need.
And then finally, we just want to talk about, is there anybody you'd like to thank or recognize?
Well, definitely the Canadian Independent. You guys came to my house, which nobody has done yet. I find this to be much more personal than an internet video. I'd love to thank Police on Guard, who have been by my side. And mostly I'd like to thank all my followers on Twitter. They are so supportive and great people, and I've made such good friendships out of it. There's many days I feel like giving up and not doing this, because trying to have a full-time job and come home and do this, it takes up all of my time, and it's very exhausting, and I feel like giving up so many times, but they lift me up. They keep me going. And I'd like to thank everyone who has tried to help me. Anyone who has shared my story. It's most important to share it. I met someone at our local grocery store. I was wearing my shirt, who had no idea. And that's someone in Ontario. Like, I'm trying to reach Canada and the rest of the world. So it needs to get out there for people to know. And it's been hidden so much by mainstream media. It's people like you guys who give people like me a chance to tell our story. And it's the most important. I thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Thanks for sitting with us and telling your story and telling Sean's story.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Losing a child brings unparalleled, heartbreaking grief to a parent. As Dan has expressed, his pain is so deep that it's a daily struggle to simply exist. But Dan is a fighter. With the love and support of friends, old and new, close and afar, Dan has vowed to fight for Sean and to bring awareness to the dangers of the mRNA vaccines. After our interview, Dan asked if he could thank additional people and organizations that have helped him through this very difficult time.